Mr. Pro10. Oh my God.
I think
Executive.
my face is stuck in a smile. From all the photos we've been taking, it's been awesome. Just smiling and facing, it's like slowly changing. No, thank you guys for your culture. This is, the energy is amazing. Thank you all. I'm not the big hurrah, cheer kind of guy. I like to get to business and teach and train. Other people will probably be good at jumping up and down and doing the splits and stuff, but I don't think I have to today because I can just feel it just by being in the room. So thank you all for, I keep saying culture, but I think it's the people, the excitement for what we have. There's so many things ahead for all of you, so this is going to be fun. So the only difference between where I am and where you guys are is time, right? We've had a little more time. And I think a lot of the time when I look at the amount of education and time it took to get from point A to point B, whatever that is, could be elite status, it could be Master Pro10, I keep hearing you guys chant, which is awesome goals. That line from A to B is hopefully a little straighter now than it was way back when we first started. I'll give you an example. When we first started, I had to write down the 10 people that I enrolled on a piece of notebook paper and get their credit card number, and they wrote it down on paper, and then we had to take it in and turn it in. And there's been a lot of things that have changed since then. A lot of proof, a lot of science, a lot of tools that have helped us. Not only that, but we've been attracting really, really good, talented individuals, connected individuals, people that understand business, understand timing. They sometimes have money and success because they understand those two things. So when they see that here, they're very quick to jump in and join us. Okay? So I get the privilege today. I think tomorrow, since I have a spot to speak tomorrow as well, I was going to tell a little bit of my story tonight, and we might get to some of that, but I think I'm going to do a lot of that tomorrow with the whole group. And tonight, I think since you qualified to be here, we'll get into a little more specific training. Okay? So be willing to take notes, adopt some of this. I know Josie and some of you others have been to the Pro5 Summit, and there's some important things that I think are on my heart that need to be shared. I would say discussed, but this is a big room. But I think it's a type of training that I probably should sit down and talk about. But maybe if I can present that, and then obviously your leaders know this and can teach and mentor and train and pass that information down to you. But for a little fun, just to start with, I found some slides because I believe that systems work. Okay? I really do. I think if you follow a system, the system itself doesn't fail. We may fail the system, but if you have a system in place that can, where we can replicate and follow a path, especially if the path has already been taken, right? I felt when we first started, we had a bunch of trees and we were going through a forest, and we were just knocking over the big trees still. There was no path yet. We had to knock over like driving a dozer, right? Big trees knocked down. Now maybe behind us we pull some of the stumps. Now it's time, I think some of you guys are talented and you put some gravel down, but it's not a paved road yet. We're very new, we're growing, we're expanding, and so we're gonna need all of your help to pave that road and develop a path so that more and more people behind us can follow that path much more quickly and much more efficiently, right? Hopefully a lot faster than we did. Okay? So for systems to work, a little fun thing is I found some systems that don't work. Okay, some of you guys might have seen this, but I think there's fun in finding systems that don't work, then we can recognize the value when one does. So here's an idea. Everyone will see it for a while, and then pretty soon they'll get it. Who built the stairs over here? Sometimes you don't see it at first, right? That system doesn't work. You can open your door and be like, right? Here's another one. This is a wall at the stadium where the seats are sold. We call those the cheap seats. Very, very cheap. you have to watch the game on your phone when you're at the game. But these people don't have to pay very much for those seats, right? Here's some funny ones. These are fun. That's a toilet in the conference room. So you don't have to walk far. If you have to go, you can just go, but it's kind of embarrassing when everyone's in the conference room. This one's kind of interesting too. I don't know, people send these to me all the time. Hey, look, I found another one. It's kind of embarrassing to walk in and be like, hey. Look at this guy shoved it to his tire. So I have a question. Do you tell him, or you just sit back with your phone and video when he drives off? I'll probably video that one. That might be funny. So for systems to work, this is just fun. We have 100. I've been doing this for so long. We have so many funny things that people send us. But I know we have systems that do work. And I'm going to introduce a couple ideas to you today. And I'm going to hint to you that there's going to be more about this tomorrow. And I think some things that you'll be able to participate in a big way. So kind of, this will tee it up for tomorrow, then we'll hit it home tomorrow and help you understand. First, most people negotiate the price of success so long that they would have been there by now if they would have just paid it, right? Think about that for a minute. Most people negotiate the price of success so long that they would have been there already, they would have been there by now, if they would have just paid the price. Okay? So maybe we can't have a conversation in this bigger room, but think about or write down some of the things that you may have been or may be negotiating. Okay? What are some of the things that we might accidentally negotiate, or we sometimes think, oh, I've already been to that training, I don't need to go back. Right? I can do this with just this little pack instead of the bigger pack. Right? I don't have to spend as much. I don't have to travel as far. I don't need to go to all the corporate events because I'm going to negotiate what I think is important, or I'm going to minimize what I really need in that negotiation. And sometimes I realize, looking back at some of the people on our team, that if they would have just paid the price, they would have already been massively successful, which would have compensated for typically what they're trying to negotiate, right? Trying to win or trying to get rid of. So this, to me, I was actually in Australia trying to explain this to somebody, and this was the book that I got from a guy there. And I took it home and I've been using it ever since, because it really helped me to put into words what I've been trying to tell people. They said, well, how did you get here so fast? How did you have this much success? You've been doing it all the time. How did you get there so quickly? I just didn't negotiate. I just figured out the system, figured out the path, figured out the amount of work that had to be done. And typically, if it was this much work, we just did it in a week instead of a month. Right? You just say what has to be done, and we just compress. Right? I learned a lot about compression with the photos today, right? Right? Compress, right? We just compress time and energy and effort into a short time so that we didn't have to negotiate. We didn't have to have the imbalance very long. Because when you're building, and you're building hard and building right, we have to be careful to keep everything in balance in our lives. Right? Especially, I have 6 kids, my beautiful wife, I have 6 kids, and if I'm not careful, right, the mindset I have to put 125% in, sometimes we'll overpass or step over the bounds of marriage and family and things like that. So it's a balance to find a way to work hard, work fast, and push without necessarily disrupting that. Short term, I think things can be done like that. I sat down with my family very early on, and I said, what are we going to do when we hit Pro 5? What is our family going to do when we hit Pro 6? Let's set a goal for Pro 7. When we hit Pro 7 as a family, and I have little kids. My oldest was 8, my youngest was 1 when we started. Little kids, so I told my wife, I gotta go work, take care of the kids, and she has 1 on each hand, like, okay, hurry up. And I remember her saying, but every rank, Pro 7, Pro 8, we had goals, we had family things. One was just to go get pizza, right? One was a little trip, one was a trip to Hawaii with our family, we had little things set. along the whole way. But all of them helped us to have goals as a family and have the imbalance that this can create not be very long, be short term. So my first thought, mindset-wise, before we get into this, mindset-wise, we have to be willing to find the price, pay it so that we can have success. And then once we have success, we can give a lot of time back. Okay? One quick story. When I looked at this for the first time, we had looked at like 15 other companies. And I had a checklist, and I kept turning down companies, turning down this. I was a paramedic by trade, so I got to see a lot of medicines, a lot of products, a lot of stuff that is supposed to change people's lives, right? And when I finally found Pro10, at the time that's all we had. Nerve to Pro10, we understood the science, and I knew they had something special. And I brought it home to my family, and I said, hey guys, look, I found something. We have something that the world needs, and they don't have it. And I think that I can help be a voice for that. I'm not very good at it, but I'm going to figure out how to go be a voice and get this product to the world. So it's a little emotional for me when I walk into a room in the Philippines. Our dream was to get it to the world, and I see another country embracing that, right? It's so fun for me to see and look ahead. And you guys will have the same stories when you look and see another country and another that you helped bring in and create in your teams into life families in the future. But I brought that home to my family, and I said, you guys, we have a little, once a week, we meet as a family, and we talk things over, we look at our schedules, we have a little lesson spiritually, so we're on track, and we talk. And I brought this up in our family home meeting to my family. I said, I want to start a new business. And I said, but all the time that you guys have, I'm going to have to take away short term for a little while. And my daughter was 8 years old. And she said, Dad, are you asking me or are you telling me that you're going to do it? She's pretty smart. And I said, well, I really want to do this. I said, but I understand if the only 5 hours a week that I give to you now, if you don't want me to take that away, I understand. I was a paramedic, I was a firefighter, I didn't have a lot of extra time after all of those jobs and different things to give back. But my wife jumped in and said something special. I hope you guys get the training. It's the stories, but I hope you find the training in the stories, right? My wife jumped in and said, no, you guys got to understand, if we give Dad the time now to build this, we can have all the time we want later. Okay? But we have to give it to him now. He has to work hard, he has to run, and we can have it back later. And then my daughter, 8 years old, well, how long is that going to take? Right? What do you think my wife did? She didn't answer. She answered the other questions, but she didn't answer that question. She turned at me and looked and said, yeah, how long is that going to take? Right? And I remember looking at her saying, well, it depends on how we commit. It depends on the pace. It depends on what we negotiate about. So we didn't miss an event. We didn't miss a corporate event. We did everything that we felt was not negotiating so that we could get there very quick. 1 year later, I come back to my family, right? We hit some elite ranks. We were making more than we ever had financially compared to my wage as a firefighter. People I say all the time, I say, we tripled our income. People say, well, how did you triple your income? I said, just start with a really low number for your income, and it's not hard to triple, right? If you're making a lot of money, we can all triple it. It just might take a little longer than a firefighter wage, right? But I never say we did it. You know, I'm home. What do you want? And my daughter's pretty smart. She said, Dad, I said, I still have more people to help. We're not done yet, but I want to give time back. And my daughter said, well, I want 1 day in the month. I want to pick, and I get to plan it, and you get to just take me, right? And then my son jumped in and said, yeah, I want to go riding on the dirt bikes. And my other one jumped in, yeah. My daughter said, I'll plan it, you just pick me up. Mind you, she's like 9 at this point, right? So I get her in the car, we're gonna go somewhere, and I show up at the place with the address, and I walk in and there's like 30 women getting their nails done and their feet done at the spa. And I have my belt buckle, my boots, my cowboy hat, and I look at my daughter, and she just smiles. She's like, I kinda got you, Dad. So we sat down, and it was priceless to watch her just proud of her dad being there, right? Middle of the week, everyone else is up there, but all the moms were there, and I was just like out of place, but it was for her, right? So we were able to give time back, and that was some of the little things, but to me they're big, right? To be able to hand those back and answer the question, how long did it take, right? But that was still 12 more years ago. So what have we done in the time? We've developed people, okay? If I can leave you one message today, we're not just putting in volume, we're developing people. Okay, if you can get that concept today, volume comes, income comes, rent comes, but if you can develop people, then you're setting yourself up, you're digging a well that's deep, and if something ever happens in your life, then the leadership you've developed, the skill sets, the talent will be there. You guys know some of our story, and I'll tell more tomorrow. We were involved in a car accident. My two daughters were paralyzed. My wife lost her leg years later from the accident. I broke my leg, they had to reconstruct my face, everything. Overnight, our life changed. And I can tell you the one steady thing in all of that was the ability for our life to show up, to pay bills, and to keep moving. And I could deal with life when it happened because we dug the well before it happened. Right? Too many people, I think, wait when things are good, I'm fine, and they wait till they get hard and then they start building. My suggestion is right now, like while we're growing, we're launching, we're running, this is the time to run and dig and build. I hope nothing like that ever happens, but if it does, then you'll be prepared. Okay? You'll be in a position, I think, to handle those things. So, just a quick thought. We're going to look at some of these. What does this picture mean to you? I love this. Is one of my favorite pictures. Some of you guys know Donnie and Marcy, they were teaching one time and popped this up, and it just resonated with me. And I thought, yeah, this is it, because I felt so long that I was down here. Right? If you guys get to know me more and more, you're going to say, how did that guy get to Pro10? That guy's crazy. We work hard, we try hard. I didn't come from a very affluent background at all. We lived on a ranch. I knew how to weld, I knew how to chase cows with a horse and rope. But for me to go communicate and teach people about health, I had my paramedic background helped me to understand things. But the difference was being able to stand up here and teach them. Right? Show somebody else. And it took a long time breaking plates. And so I challenge you to not be afraid to try it. Do the presentation. Take the marker, so to speak, right? Do the Zoom. Get on and do the presentation so that we can develop people. We need a lot of people breaking plates so that eventually more and more people are standing up here, teaching a little bit more. We have people develop in those positions because when we found ourselves in the hospital for months dealing with that accident, we relied on the amount of people that had broke plates so long that it was their turn to step up. And it didn't affect our business being in the hospital. I could be with my daughters at 2 in the morning when my daughter said, hey Dad, I'm 3 doors down the hall, but I need to talk. Right? And I still have kids. My poor daughter. 2 of them paralyzed. Right? Not 1, 2. We came home with 4 wheelchairs from that accident. Right? I got out of mine kind of quick. The other 3 were in wheelchairs for a long time. So you have the. And then my daughter, quick story, my daughter a year later had brain cancer. Being in her wheelchair, found brain cancer, had another surgery. My wife had 12 more surgeries and ended up being amputated. Now, my wife's trying out for the Olympics, right? So my daughter just served the mission for our church and got back. My other daughter's playing wheelchair basketball. Every one of them are thriving in the situation they're in. A lot of it was because of people like you. They would come home from events like this, and they would teach me things that they learned, not from me on stage, but from all of people that were up here, that had broke plates for so long that they were a bigger person and they could teach my family. One day I came home and my daughter wrote on our whiteboard, we have a whiteboard in our kitchen that says, we better start building our own dreams before somebody hires us to build theirs. She learned that out of events. I heard somebody say that from stage. I thought, you better hurry, right? And I learned that from them. It was pretty cool. So I'm not afraid of this, you guys. I'm not afraid of mistakes. I'm not honest mistakes, right? I'm not afraid of people trying and slipping. And that's what we're all here for, to help train. We'll travel, we'll be there, we'll support you, we'll lock arms. Get to lift, but we just need people to be willing to get to hear it. Sometimes when you're in the audience, it looks like us in the audience is not going to be them on stage. Sometimes it looks too polished or too perfect or too something. I used to think that all the time when I see someone on stage. I can't do that, right? There's no way. You know who helped me the most? It was a guy that had a whiteboard. He got on stage, he tripped, he fell, he hit the whiteboard, it fell down there, and after about 5 minutes of watching that guy on stage, I thought, you know what, I have a chance. I think I can do this. He said about 50 times, he was scared, he was shaking, I thought, man, this is good. He actually helped me the most, because I was out there and I realized that I could get here, but I have to take the stairs. Right? We're not going to jump on stage, step by step by step. Okay, that's just going to tee up what I want to mention here. I believe, and I'm going to go through this very, very quickly. We're going to tee it up today and cover it tomorrow. Learn, do, teach. I think there's a process of you show up, you take notes, and you learn. Someone else is doing the meeting. Someone else is on the Zoom. Someone else is teaching. You're just there. You might invite someone to be there with you, but you're just taking notes. You're using all the skills in your background, all the things you've learned in the past, but you bring it to there, and then you still have to learn about nerve too. You still have to learn what products you have, what products are available, what's our compensation plan. You still have to learn. And then there's a point to where you do. And it's a lot of work, you guys. I was gone from our house. I think I was there just on Sundays. When I first got involved, the guys that signed us up said, are you willing to do this over everything else? I said, well, I have a couple things I'm not willing to give up. Number one, Sunday, I always committed to do something with my family, and I won't really work on Sunday. Number two, I said I want to take my wife on a date every week. When we got married, I promised her I would never miss a week to take her on a date. So we were already dating, and I said I won't change. Right? Now, there's been some crazy weeks where I had one time we were going to the movies, and we pulled into the parking lot, and there was like 40 cars out front of someone's house on the way to the movies, because I forgot that I had booked the meeting that night. And my wife looks at me, what are we doing? I said, give me 10 minutes, I gotta go to the meeting real fast, and then we'll go to the movies. Right? And so we made it work, but it was hard and difficult, but we just made sure to follow those commitments. The do part, you get busy. It's one of the busiest parts of your business, and I think that's when you're physically out in the trenches doing the presentation. You understand it, you can do it, you don't have to rely on somebody else. You're not waiting for the Zoom on Friday, because you are the Zoom. You can do it, you can knock on the door, you can do it yourself. You're in do mode, right? And then there's a teach mode, right? I think teach is where you take the person who's trying to get into do mode and give them the tools that help them, lock arms with them. Do it with them, not for them. Remember, develop people, not just volume, right? Do it with them, not just for them. And what starts to happen is you start to become, right? You start to believe by learning, you start to build a team, and you start to become a leader. We need leaders. We need a lot of leadership. You guys have all came, a lot of leadership that you've already developed in other companies and other things, and you bring it, right? That's awesome because you bring that. You bring that as well. We have a culture here that you're going to adapt, you're going to bring your personal lives to, and our culture will tweak and change, and it will turn into this Philippine life managed culture that I'm learning from them. Right? But it's this process that takes place. Okay? Pro3. 9,000 OB, right? That process will change. But I want to look at this not as volume, but just the people. To get to that, we need to develop people in those positions. Subscriptions, right? We're going to talk a little bit about the concept of not being hands-on every day, but having things happen automatically in the business. To get here, you have to be Pro3, right? All the Pro3s, raise your hands. You guys, congratulations for you guys doing the work together. I think you can learn your way to Pro3. Okay, I think so. I've seen people show up at meetings, they bring a friend, they show up at a meeting, they bring a friend, they don't do a lot of doing and explaining, they just show up, bring a friend, inviting, bringing friends. I've seen them get to that. Like, I haven't seen too many people get to 4 or 5 without learning to do the presentation, learning to educate, learning to be the voice, right? Having the marker, so to speak. We used to call it passing the baton. I want to make a big marker that looks like a baton, and I'm going to hand them out. Right, you're next. Because the marker symbolizes the ability to educate somebody, do the presentation, do the work, right? Okay, I believe that is how we get to Pro5 is we just develop enough Pro3s. Okay? Right, we have a Pro5 dinner. We have to honor those that have learned to do that, learn the next phase of business. Okay? And then the last we learn how to get to Pro7, I think, is by developing Pro5s. To get Pro5, it is developing our Pro3s, and our Pro3s develop volume from people, right? That concept we're going to hit on tomorrow in the program, I think you're going to be excited about. Expanding your why. Last concept I'll cover real quick today. I believe most people are in between these two places most of the time. They're in between crisis and survival. They're stuck there, right? They do what they can to survive, and they're back in a crisis, and they hold a paycheck, and they get by, and they barely make it the next month. And I remember being there. I remember holding on my check saying, hey, what bills do you have this month, this week, right? Okay, I'm getting paid Thursday, let's hold this one Tuesday so we can make it through. I mean, just that process, right? What do the kids need? It's just important. But I think that the ability to lead food, water, and shelter gets us there. It's a push, external push, makes us get out of bed. We have to do it. We have to do something because we have to survive. Right? But we spend a lot of time here. I learned a long time ago to try to get myself to success. I read books and studied, and I learned things like motivation, desire, willpower, integrity. I learned internal pushes that were a little more than just survival. They were to be successful. But I can tell you, I got stuck right here for a little while. That success, we had a little money, we were making more before. More than half. I went back to my family after 1 year and said, you guys, we did it. Remember? My daughter, they said, I know I'm taking them. I have to get into the spa with my feet done with my daughter, right? Little success. Okay? But I learned to look for significance. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about this, but for those that have reached and found some success, and mainly these front few rows that are working, found a little success. To be significant, though, this is one of those places we can do that. I found significance in helping hundreds of other people reach and find success and be home with their own kids and raising their own kids, not allowing the school systems and other systems to do that. They're home willing to do that themselves. And this is a very, very fun place to be. But the internal pushes aren't enough. The external pushes aren't enough. We have to have a reason. We have to go look at our purpose, our why, and these are the things that I think will slowly start to develop, and we start to develop reasons for doing this. They're important. Okay? Let me end with this one story. When I talk about doing it yourself, being a leader, know me, I have one story. I call it the sock story. I shared with the Pro5 son. My daughter was there. When my daughter was paralyzed, one day it was shortly after she was paralyzed, she was down the hall, and I heard somebody crying. And I came out of my room, and Dad hears daughter crying. What do you do? We're gonna go fix it. What's wrong with my daughter? I go down, she's on her bed, falling over, trying to put on a pair of socks. It had been going on for 10 minutes, and I remember reaching over and what does Dad say? Give me those socks. I know how to put socks on. Here, I'll put them on for you, right? What did my daughter say? Hey, Dad, give me my socks back. And my daughter, if you get to know her, you'll know why she said it. She said, Dad, I have to learn how to do this. I have to learn to do this on my own. And then she said something so powerful. She said, Dad, give me the socks. Let me do this, but just stay with me. Don't leave. Stay in the room. And I got to sit there and cry with her for 20 minutes while she learned to put on a pair of socks. Right? At 17 years old. Again. And I sat there and felt that emotion, and we connected, and I watched her do it, and then I just gave her a hug and said, you did it. You can do it now. The next time it took 15 minutes, the next time it took 10, and now she can put on a pair of quickly. But isn't that what we do every day? Is that how we pray? I feel like I pray that now. Let me do this, but just don't leave me. Stay with me somewhere, but let me do this on my own. I have to learn how to do this. You will become a leader, but we need leaders to step up and become, step up and own. We're looking for the talent, looking for the skill set. The LifeVantage needs you, and this country needs you to step up and be those leaders, because if we want LifeVantage to be here and be here a long time, we have to develop leadership in that magnitude, and that's why we're talking about that in this group, because it's going to come from this group primarily. There's going to be others that join us, but I think the first round of generational leadership is in this room. We're excited to have you. We'll pour our hearts out to you. We'll show you everything we know how to do to get from A to B as fast as you can. There's no reason we should hold anything back. That's what's fun about this industry. It's not like corporate America where you have to wait till somebody falls off the ladder before you can step up. Right? I gotta wait for the chief to fall off so I can become a chief in the fire department. We don't have that here. There's enough room for Pro10s at the top. We just pull ladders down and bring people up. The more the better, right? So we'll do everything we can. We'll travel, we'll be here, we'll do everything we can. We'll put the money where our mouth is, we'll support and help, and we'll train, and we'll try to give you every bit of advice we can, hoping to pull out more and more of you into this position. There's plenty of room at the top. Tomorrow we'll tell a little bit more of our story on the process, and this will make more sense tomorrow, but we need people to learn to invite, learn to present, and learn to mentor. Learn, do, teach. And you may be in those different areas. Some of you are teaching right now. Some of you are learning. Some of you are doing it. A lot of work. Right? It's a combination of all of those things together. Everyone does their part. Okay? The last thing I'll say, when there's a piano to be moved, I have to think about this. When there's a piano to be moved, don't reach for the bench. Okay? Have the piano work with us. We got a lot of work to do. Okay, there's some people that fight over the bench, right? I had that one time, I had the piano to move, and two big smoke guys got to grab the bench, and they're fighting over the bench, and me and three other guys have the piano. You know, these guys need to have another piano. There's a piano to be moved right now in this country. You guys are moving it, but if you're holding the bunch, put it down, let's grab the piano, let's go to work. Okay? We'll talk about it later. Thank you guys.